Picture this. You're jolted awake by the shrill sound of your alarm clock. Your hand instinctively reaches for your phone. Think about it. Why is this ritual almost second nature? It's a habit, a part of your routine. These habits, small repetitive actions, are a fundamental part of our lives. They guide us, silently sculpting our days, from our first morning coffee to our nightly scroll through emails. Charles Duhigg, the renowned author, explores the mystery of habits through three elements: cue, routine, and reward. It's a cycle form. Our routines and our identities can lead to prosperity or unproductivity. Understanding our habits gives us the power to control them. The next time you reach for your phone first thing in the morning, ask yourself, why? Ever wondered what's happening inside your brain when you're making a decision? Let's dive into some recent neuroscience research that unpacks this mystery. It turns out our brain's reward system plays a significant role in decision-making. Every time you make a choice, your brain weighs the potential rewards and the effort it would take to achieve them. This is where dopamine, a neurotransmitter often associated with pleasure, comes into play. Dopamine doesn't just respond to rewards, it also prompts us to seek them out, acting as a kind of motivational fuel. When you're working towards a goal, dopamine is released in incremental spurts, pushing you forward. This anticipation of reward keeps us motivated and influences our choices. Science is continually evolving our understanding of the brain's decision-making processes. It's fascinating to think how much these invisible chemical reactions guide our actions. The inner workings of our brain indeed influence our actions in profound ways. Now, let's delve into a different aspect. Our emotions. Do they have a say in our actions? Indeed, they do, and substantially so. Our emotions are not just random feelings, they are complex psychological states that can significantly influence our decision-making process. Let's take a look at what research has to say. Studies on emotional intelligence, a concept popularized by psychologist Daniel Goleman, show that our emotions can be harnessed to make better decisions. Emotional intelligence, simply put, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions and the emotions of others. It's about being aware of our emotional state and the emotional states of those around us. Consider this. When we're in a positive mood, we're more likely to make optimistic choices. On the flip side, when we're feeling down, we may lean towards more pessimistic decisions. This is known as the mood-congruent judgment bias. Let's delve deeper. Some of you may be familiar with the Iowa gambling task, a fascinating study by Antonio Damasio. Participants were asked to choose cards from 4 decks, each with different risks and rewards. The interesting part, people started avoiding the bad decks before they could logically explain why. They felt a sense of unease, a gut feeling that guided them. This was one of the first studies to show that our emotions can guide our decisions, often before we're consciously aware of them. Also, consider loss aversion, a concept from behavioral economics. It's the idea that people feel the pain of losing more intensely than the joy of gaining. This emotional response can heavily influence our decisions, sometimes leading us to act against our best interests. So how can we use this knowledge to our advantage? By becoming more attuned to our emotions, we can recognize when they might be influencing our decisions. We can pause, reflect, and then decide whether to follow that emotional nudge or take a step back and reassess. Understanding our emotions isn't about suppressing them, but about harnessing them wisely. They are an integral part of us, and when understood and managed well, they can become powerful allies in our decision-making process. So, next time you make a decision, remember, your emotions might be steering the wheel. What drives you to do what you do? Is it the pursuit of success or the fear of failure? These questions guide us to the fascinating realm of the psychology of motivation. At the heart of this field are theories like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which suggests that our actions are driven by a series of needs, starting with basic physiological needs and culminating in self-actualization, the desire to realize our full potential. Then there's self-determination theory, which posits that we are motivated by 3 innate needs: competence, relatedness, and autonomy. Here, our actions are driven by the need to feel skilled and competent, to have meaningful relationships with others, and to be in control of our own lives. These theories provide valuable insights into why we choose certain paths over others. Understanding the psychology of motivation can help us comprehend our actions better. Ever found yourself doing something just because everyone else was doing it? This is a common experience for most of us. and it's a powerful demonstration of the influence of social pressure and conformity on our behavior. Conformity is the act of matching our attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors to group norms. It's a powerful social force that can lead us to act in ways we might not otherwise, simply to fit in with the crowd. This was famously illustrated in the Asch conformity experiments conducted in the 1950s. In these experiments, participants were asked to match the length of a line with one of 3 other lines. When alone, they almost always got it right, but when in a group where others were intentionally giving the wrong answer, a significant number of participants conformed to the group's incorrect judgment. This phenomenon of conformity can have profound implications on our behavior, leading us to make choices that we may not fully agree with, just to avoid standing out or being judged. And it's not just about matching line lengths in a lab experiment. Think about fashion trends, popular diets, or even societal norms and expectations. We often find ourselves adhering to these, not necessarily because we agree with them, but simply because everyone else is doing it. Obedience is another aspect of social influence. It refers to changing our behavior in response to a direct order or command from an authority figure. It's why we stop at red lights, pay our taxes, and follow laws and regulations. While obedience is necessary for a functioning society, it also has its dark side, as it can lead to harmful actions if the authority figure's commands are unethical or immoral. Peer pressure, a form of social influence, often manifests in our desire to be accepted by those around us. It can push us to adopt certain behaviors, make certain choices, or even form certain opinions. In essence, our actions are not always solely our own. Society and peer pressure have a hand in shaping them too. Understanding this can help us make more conscious, authentic decisions rather than simply following the crowd. Now that we've explored the whys of our actions, what can we do with this knowledge? Well, let's distill our findings into some practical takeaways. Firstly, we learned about the power of habits. Remember that habits aren't inherently good or bad. They're simply patterns of behavior that we've repeated so often they've become automatic. So if you want to change a behavior, start by identifying the habit loop, the cue, the routine, and the reward. Then experiment with new routines that provide the same reward. Secondly, we dove into the world of neuroscience and we discovered that our brains love rewards. Dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, plays a critical role in this process. So when setting goals, try to break them down into smaller, achievable tasks. Each time you achieve a task, you'll get a little dopamine hit, which will motivate you to keep going. Next, we discussed how emotions influence our decision-making. It's important to recognize that emotions aren't just fleeting feelings, they can significantly impact our choices. So, practice emotional intelligence. Try to identify your emotions, understand why you're feeling them, and consider how they're affecting your decisions. We also explored various psychological theories of motivation. Remember, intrinsic motivation, which comes from within, often leads to more meaningful and sustainable actions than extrinsic motivation, which is driven by external rewards or punishments. So try to find activities and pursuits that align with your core values and interests. We highlighted the role of social influence and peer pressure, emphasizing the importance of staying true to your beliefs and values, even in the face of conformity. And remember, your environment plays a crucial role in shaping your behavior, so try to design your surroundings to support your desired actions. Finally, we discussed the impact of technology on our behavior. Be mindful of your digital habits and consider implementing digital detoxes or setting screen time limits to prevent digital addiction. Remember, understanding why you do what you do is the first step towards making meaningful changes in your life. Now it's time to reflect on your motivations, evaluate your actions, and begin the fascinating journey of self-improvement.